The Premier League title race is heating up. We are in the final stage. So, what we are going to do is do our final Premier League predictions. Who's going to win the title and who's going to make the top four? So, let's just go ahead and get straight into this. G, let's just go with the heavy hitter here. Who is going to win the Premier League title?
You know, at the start of this, I believe I picked Manchester City at the start of the season just because they were almost undeniable with the talent they have. But halfway toward the season, when Arsenal made their berth, I started to pay more attention. And I haven't been so quick to crown them Premier League champions like you have, and like a lot of other people have, already crowning them, putting the crown on their heads. I always knew it was going to come down to the wire, and this is going to be an all-time great title race. This is going to come down to the last day to Boxing Day. Oh, not Boxing Day. Well, you get what I'm saying. But I think I'm still going to ride with Arsenal. I think Arsenal are going to pull it off. They're going to go to the Etihad and get the result that they need to win the league. It's going to come down to that. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. It's going to come down to Arsenal getting a result at the Etihad, a very difficult place. I think Manchester City have only lost 2 matches at the Etihad, and you know what? And I think Arsenal can make it 3.
So, you're predicting that Arsenal will win the Premier League after they win at the Etihad to secure their title.
I think that's it's gonna come down to. It's gonna be a historic, no matter what, no matter which way it goes. If City win or Arsenal win, it's gonna be a historic title race. But I think Arsenal are gonna come out on top.
Okay, I'm gonna go fixture by fixture for these four Arsenal games, and you're gonna tell me win or loss. Okay, we're gonna go rapid fire. You ready?
Okay, easy.
Manchester City,
Win.
Chelsea,
Win by 10. No.
Newcastle,
Win.
Brighton.
Win.
So they're winning all of those pictures. They're getting 12 points from that.
I think they're gonna get 12 points from it. I think they're gonna buckle down the hat. Look, let's say they bottled 2-0 leads. And look, I think they're going to learn from it. This is a team that's shown resilience. They've shown somehow grit that a young team normally doesn't show. And I think they're going to learn from their mistakes, and then they're going to start to, tighten up and start to buckle down and try and get to the promised land that they've been on top of the league since what? The beginning? I mean, they haven't really
Mhm.
slipped. So I think they're gonna tighten down the hatches and get the job done.
Look, I mean, look, I have to give Arsenal their credit before I give my prediction that I've kind of stated already before. If you keep up with the channel, I have to give Arsenal their credit because they deserve it. They've been phenomenal this season. They've done it through injuries. They've had key injuries to Gabriel Jesus. Now they have key injuries to Saliba, and they've been able to maintain their spot at the top of the Premier League. If you told people that this far after the World Cup, with 7 games to go for Arsenal and 8 games to go for Man City, that they would still be 4 points clear, you would have said that you're lying.
That's
Nobody
a yeah.
expected
I mean,
nobody expected Arsenal to be at this point, even at that point in the season. But if you're talking about before the season, nobody expected Arsenal to be at this point. And it's a point that we've said before. But this is still a successful season for Arsenal, no matter how this cookie crumbles. If
yeah,
they
like
win the league or if they don't win the league, it's still successful for them.
absolutely. Not to cut you off. I mean, even before the season started, I predicted them to finish fourth, just barely in Champions League, and now obviously they're in contention to win the whole thing. And but I don't want to give them that leeway though, because I think they've gotten themselves this far to this point. Now you have to finish it. I'm not really going to give them that way out. So Arsenal, they weren't predicted to go this far anyway. No, if you've gotten this far, you have to get this far. The same way that, not to compare it directly to Leicester City, but Leicester City was right there at the precipice. You have to win it. If they didn't win it, then you basically missed out, because look, we don't know what next season entitles. We have no idea. Nothing's guaranteed. I mean, Arsenal could go into next season with high hopes. We finish second in the Premier League, but that can go up hugely into flames with bad injuries, bad form. This could be their only shot in a really long time, because a lot of teams are going to gear up for next season. Man City is going to make changes. Chelsea are going to make changes. Who knows what's going to happen to Spurs? And United are going to make moves. Teams are going to get better. So you don't know when you're going to get another chance like this. So I don't want to throw out that cope to Arsenal fans and even other people to say, oh, Arsenal, give them a little golf clap. You made it this far. No, you're expected to win the title. A lot of people have picked you to win the title, so you have to go and win it. If you don't win it, I don't care what it is. I think it's a failure. I think if they've gotten at the number one spot for so long, and at the final games you give it up, that's a failure. By any other club, that's a failure, no matter who you are. So I'm always on that position. I respect what you're saying. Arsenal, no one predicted you to get this far, but I think if it were, maybe back and forth with City more, like they were one this week, but second this week, if we're more like that, but they have been somewhat dominating that. I mean, they've held that spot for so long, and
Mhm.
for them to bottle it at the end, I mean, that's a failure.
That's exactly what you took the words because I was going to ask you if you thought it was a failure. I mean, I think it's harsh to say that this Arsenal season is a failure because I just feel like that they have shown that they can be built for the future. But at the same time, it's a question that we've talked about before as well with Arsenal, and it's just like they don't seem to be in contention for these top targets in the transfer window, and they
Yeah,
have to strengthen. They're going to have to get better, and obviously they're still talking about Declan Rice, which would be a huge addition to their midfield. But why aren't they in on a Jude Bellingham? Why aren't
or
Arsenal in
yeah,
on a couple other players that clearly they're going to have Champions League football? They're going to have the money to spend, and Arsenal have to improve the squad. They already have a good squad, obviously, to be competing like this with Man City, but they're going to have to keep improving it. They obviously have key issues. Like right now, what's costing Arsenal points is Rob Holding. They didn't have key. They look an unfortunate injury happened to Saliba, and their depth at the center back position isn't that
this
great.
is not good enough.
So they have to put Rob Holding in. He's cost them both games. So the fact of the matter is, they have to make improvements to the squad. The reason why Man City are so good is because they almost have two squads of quality players. They have so much depth. They get the choice to play sometimes Riyad Mahrez and sometimes Bernardo Silva.
Sometimes not. It's
Pep.
insane.
Sometimes you play Haaland. Sometimes Haaland is injured today. Oh, we play
You play
Julian
Julian
Alvarez,
Alvarez.
World Cup winner. Oh, you can go in there. He's gonna score. They have a luxury of depth, and obviously that comes down to great management, great scouting, all of those things for Man City. But I think it's a little bit off topic, but I feel like it is a little bit harsh to say it's a failure for Arsenal if this does happen. How I think it's gonna go down.
I think just for the more of the maybe some of the older Arsenal fans, they'll see it as a bit of a failure. I mean, I think it was because I mean, some of the older fans remember just how good this club was. It wasn't. It feels like ages ago, but it really wasn't that long ago where Arsenal were always in contention for top four, and they always had their hand in that pot of we're one of the best teams in the league. But I just think from the perspective of they were on top for so long, and then for them just to bottle at the end. That's just my opinion, but not to make it almost an entire hour long about that.
Yeah.
But obviously, you wanted to get on to our next point.
Well, I don't think I actually ever officially said what I think is going
Oh
to
yeah,
happen.
I forgot.
So obviously, I said this on a previous video. I think Manchester City are going to win the Premier League. I think they're going to win all of the remaining games. I look at their fixture list, and it just looks like they have a good run in, and they're already on incredible form. I think Man City are playing their best football right now at this point in the season. This new system that Pep has employed with John Stones moving into the midfield, they have not lost yet. They've been playing phenomenal. They've been scoring goals like crazy. Haaland obviously is playing record-breaking football right now. And I look at their fixtures list in and I say, okay, they play Brighton. That's a tough game. They play Arsenal. Of course, that's a tough game. But besides that, Fulham, West Ham, Leeds, Everton,
Chelsea.
Chelsea, and Brentford, they should win all of those games. And obviously, I think they're going to beat Brighton. And I think they're going to beat Arsenal. So obviously, that being at home, obviously that does help as well. I think that's going to be a big win. And also, ultimately, I agree. It kind of does come down to that matchup between Man City and Arsenal. And I just think Man City, they have that mental edge over Arsenal. I think they're going to get the better of them. And ultimately, once that happens, I think it's kind of their title to lose at that point. And Man City, at that point, they're not going to lose on the run in. It's not going to happen. They're not going to bottle it.
They've been in
They have
that
too much
position way
experience.
too many. They've been in the position way too many times to where they know what they have to do. With especially with little games left, is you just got to get your results however you can get them, and that was something you had alluded to in past episodes. I'm sure a lot of people weren't here for that, but you had predicted not Chelsea, but Man City usually go on these type of
I
runs
told you,
when they
bro. I
win titles,
told you,
where
bro.
they
They
go on.
do.
Right now, they're on a 9-game winning streak.
I'm
That's
telling
just
you.
what they do. I mean, but with the time you said that was a bit too early because the next game they ended up drawing. But
Yeah. But they always do
but
it. But you don't ever
but
know
later
when,
from
but
that
they do it.
they ended up going on this win streak, and this is where Arsenal began to struggle. But yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna come down to that Arsenal have to be that team to break said win streak. I think that's what it's gonna come down to, and that's what it's gonna have to be.
So obviously, we know what Man City have done, the records that they are breaking. I'm trying to pull up the list right now. You can bear with me of the Man City titles. all the ones that they've won under Pep.
under Pep.
Here it is.
Isn't it 4, 5? I mean,
Exactly. They have
I
4 right
forget.
now.
Yeah, 4.
But okay, so the question I'm gonna pose is to you: if Man City win this title, that's 5 titles under Pep, and this would be a three-peat. Where would this dynasty rank in terms of Premier League like dynasties?
I think just as a dynasty as a whole, it has to be the greatest dynasty in Premier League history. I'm not saying it's the greatest team because I think there's other teams that are better. I mean, I've you know, you can give a shout to the Invincibles. You got Sir Alex Ferguson's United. There's other great teams like that, even the great Chelsea teams of the past. But I think from a moment of dominance, it's just they've been so dominant. What is it? If they won this season, that'd be what, 5 out of their last 6. The only one they didn't win was that one Liverpool one. And imagine if they had won that. I mean, they were still in that. It was super close. Like
Well,
they
but
were.
that's
They have,
that season it was like a 15-point win for Liverpool. Liverpool
well,
dominated that year.
Liverpool that was when they almost went invincible. But I mean,
Yeah.
City were still there basically. I mean,
Yeah.
they not like they didn't finish within
They
anything
finished
below
second.
3.
They finished second.
They were always there. And I think that's something you have to look at and just it's almost like you question is how is that even possible? How's a team been this relevant for so long and winning so much? And you know, everybody's gonna have their own answer to said question, you know, like oil money, sponsor money, whatever they have. But to be able to get the concentrate and constantly hit on transfers, because look, you can have all the money in the world. I think Chelsea and Todd Bowley have proved that you could have all the money, you could sign so many players, but if none of them work, it's not gonna you're not gonna win games. And
Mhm.
City have found a way to always, you know, not every signing's a hit, but they've signed great players. They signed Rodri, Mahrez, Grealish starting to finally look like he's starting to pay off that 100
Finally.
odd million. And obviously Erling Haaland, I mean, they couldn't miss with that one. That's a tap in.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's
so
ironic.
like ironic statement. Even like Ruben Diaz. So
Yeah.
even going back to John Stones. I mean,
Yeah.
they
That's a
hit.
bargain now.
I mean, that's a bargain now. They got him from Everton for what? I think back in the day, like 40 odd million. I mean, he's starting to look like, you know, one of the best defenders in the world. But
Now
that's
he's a
just,
midfielder.
I mean, as a midfielder, but that's just how Cindy have always done their business. They're great at signing players. They have great scouting, and it's always turned out very well for them. So I think that, like, to make it all short, to make a long story short, I think that would be the greatest dynasty that we might have seen since, you know, comparing even to the entire world of football. I have it probably right
Wow.
there behind Real Madrid.
So, but in some way, is this Manchester City like era a failure without a Champions League?
No, I wouldn't say that. No, I think that to say the era would be a failure after winning 5 Premier League titles is almost kind of almost like an oxymoron, a bit
Well,
of a
the
dumb
reason why I
statement.
say it is because I've given Pep criticism in the past,
Yeah,
obviously,
I mean,
because
I
I've
have
said
to.
Pep has not won a Champions League since Barcelona, but specifically with Manchester City, he's had a lot of chances, and you know they haven't been able to get over the line. And you kind of say, of course, they've dominated in the league, but they want to win the Champions League.
They want, yeah.
That's their ultimate goal. It's been the whole time. That's what they wanted to win. They didn't bring in Pep to win the Premier League. If they've already won the Premier League, Pep
I
has said
mean,
that.
I mean, Pepe, yeah, so I said that he literally said he doesn't care about the league
And I
and
think
this
Pep is
season.
I think Pep is the greatest. It kind of leads into a question I was going to ask you. It kind of blends together, of course.
Hmm.
But look, I think Pep is the greatest manager of all time. But I think he does deserve a certain level of even not criticism per se, but questioning as to how come you haven't been able to win the Champions League at Bayern Munich or Manchester
Absolutely. I
City.
mean,
But
I've been there with you.
I do think it's going to happen this year, though.
Yeah, I mean, it could all change within, you know, a couple months, but I mean, even if he doesn't win a Champions League, it's just undeniable. It's like you've won how many league titles? I mean, within that short span, I mean, Pep has created history out of nothing because I mean, before
Yeah.
that, really, other than that one, obviously Man City's Aguero goal winning at the final day, Man City are still kind of like a club with no history, and Pep has literally written history for them as a
Hmm.
team that's a winning team.
Hmm.
And that even though they're a bit of they can be a bit of a banter club in Europe, it's still undeniable what they've done in the Premier League. Stuff that probably we won't ever see again. I mean, this type of dominance we might never ever see it again.
Well, it's one of those things. After the Sir Alex and Manchester United dominance, I didn't think I would see someone dominate the Premier League like Man City have dominated the Premier League in this Pep Guardiola era. I didn't think another manager in this, considering how competitive the league is right now at this current state of the league, and since And even going back to when Pep first joined the Premier League, it was getting extra competitive around then. So I didn't think I would ever be able to see someone in this current era, modern era of football, dominate the Premier League, which is the most competitive league in the world. Nobody denies that anymore, at least. To see someone dominate in the way Pep has, I think it's very good. Like, it's commendable. He's changed football. The way English football is viewed and played, it will forever be different because of Pep. He's the most
Yeah, I mean,
he's
in
the most
football in
influential
general.
manager. Because the way that other managers manage and coach in the Premier League is so much different because of Pep. The way the game is played is different, and this is a whole different conversation. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we could go on forever. I mean, and I know for a long time you always had Sir Alex as the. I remember arguments back in the day that I had thought Pep was the best for a while now, and just because of how he's introduced this new style of football, this
it's not
more
just the
free.
winning, but it's how
Yeah,
they've done it.
it's
And
just how they do it and how they dominate teams. Because like realistically, I watched the City game. They hold almost if they don't hold over 60% possession, it's a bad game because they control the game so perfectly, unlike any other team. And look, if you're a fan of any other team, you're jealous because you wish your team could hold the ball like this, even though it might not always they're not always going to win every single game. And we saw it in the Champions League, they struggle, but
Mhm.
they seem to play so well and such as a cohesive unit. It's a glory to watch. I mean, it's some of the best football you can watch. I mean, if you want to bring someone into football, you'd most likely show them a City game just because of how they play.
Yeah, I think when I look the Pep Guardiola winning the treble this season with Manchester City,
Jesus.
for me, that would be the cherry on top to his GOAT case as a manager. I already think he's the greatest manager of all time when you look at what he's accomplished, but that winning that would be the cherry on top to his GOAT status. It's similar to I already thought Messi was the GOAT before the World Cup. Messi won the World Cup. That's the cherry on top. Now it's not even a debate. But I think the only thing he's missing is a Champions League outside of Barcelona. He gets
Yeah,
that,
outside of Lionel Messi.
and outside of Lionel Messi, he gets that. What's stopping Pep from in any debate? So I think ultimately that's what's kind of holding him back, and I think that's what he's going to get this season. And I just look at Pep Guardiola's. He won 3 league titles in a row at Barcelona. He won 3 league titles in a row at Bayern Munich. I mean that's quite easy, of course.
Yeah, I mean,
But now he's about to win potentially 3 league titles with Manchester City in a row, 5 in total. I mean, come on.
I mean, and he would be the first. I think the first manager ever to win 2 trebles. If I'm not 100% mistaken, I didn't double check that. Don't fact check me here, but I can't remember another manager that's done it, especially in recent memory. I mean,
In modern football,
in modern football, maybe. I
I don't
mean,
know.
but that would be the more obviously recent instance. But to win a treble, especially when Manchester City, I mean, they've won domestic trebles. I mean, they've done that easily, but
Hmm.
to win the Champions League and to do that with Man City to be to finally break that threshold would be almost bigger than winning it than realistically anywhere. I think. I mean, unless you win it for PSG or something, but.
Hmm.
I mean, not to harp on so much about Pep Guardiola here, but it would be definitely the cherry on top of that career.
The final question I have for this video is about Mikel Arteta, because obviously we know what Arsenal have achieved this season, how successful they've been. So obviously he has the chance here to potentially build on this with Arsenal, but also he might have other offers coming in. There's the conversations about maybe Real Madrid are going to call Mikel Arteta. I don't know.
Oh God.
What do you do? You think Mikel Arteta should stay with Arsenal for the long term, potentially be like a Wenger and stay at the club for years, or should he leave at some point? What do you think the future holds for Mikel Arteta?
I think that fully falls on to the Arsenal board. That are they going to back him? Are they going to support him and give him the signings that he needs to be able to compete with these other teams? Because if they're not willing to uh, like give him any the signings that he's like Declan Rice, for example, it's like you have to go get that player because you are one of the best teams in England. Those are signings that are statement signings to show that hey, we're here to stay. And if you give that type of backing, I think Arteta will stay because
Hmm.
they'll be successful. And as long as Arsenal is successful, Arteta will stay. But obviously, if there's any type of crack in that and they start to take a major step backs, then there's going to be Arteta's going to get called into question like any other manager would. and his job could be at stake. But I don't see Arteta leaving by his own
Mhm.
fruition. I mean, the only manager to do that is Pep. I mean, there's not a
Mhm.
lot of managers that leave on their own fruition. That
Mhm.
hey, you know, fuck, I've won everything here, man. I'm just gonna leave. I've had
Yeah.
enough of this.
I want to go
That
somewhere else.
that doesn't happen because I remember this. I mean, shit, we're talking about Pep Guardiola. So he's the only one to say that he's never been sacked,
He's never been
and
sacked.
he's
Yeah.
never been sacked, and he's not gonna get
Jose's been
sacked.
sacked. Everyone's been sacked.
Everybody's been sacked, but I think that's what it would take for Arteta to leave. I don't think he would leave. I mean,
Yeah.
so I mean the same guy I guess could be said about Arsene Wenger, but Arsene Wenger was kind of sacked, stepped
Yeah.
down, whatever you want to say.
It wasn't like
But
official though.
yeah, but I think Arteta will stay at Arsenal if they're as long as they're successful and they give him the backing. Because if they don't give him the backing, they're going to take setbacks and he's going to get sacked.
Yeah. Look, ultimately, I think, it's been proven time and time again that Mikel Arteta loves Arsenal. He loves the club. He wants to win trophies with the club as the manager. I don't think he would ever want to willingly leave the club. The only way I think he would leave the club is if some kind of fallout happens with the board, and that would potentially be coming down to signings or something like that. Like, I would think with any great manager, what Arteta has shown this season is that he deserves to be in the conversation for elite managers. They have an elite manager, and an elite manager deserves to be backed with players that he wants in the transfer window. If he wants a player to fix his midfield, then you get him that player. If he needs a new center back, you get him a new center back. They like a certain manager, like they deserve respect. Like Jose Mourinho tells you, you buy this player, you buy that player. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like Mikel Arteta is at that kind of status. So if he doesn't get backed properly, I think like any great manager, that's the only way he would leave the club. And Arsenal, they have been stingy sometimes with the transfer window, so you never know what's truly going to happen. But that's the only way I think he would ever leave the club. I don't think he ever really wants to leave Arsenal, and I could see him be staying there for the long haul and becoming a legend. Obviously, unless he starts losing, and then he'll get sacked, of course, like
Yeah,
any manager would. But it's interesting because if not many people can turn down Real Madrid, not many people can turn down those kinds of offers. So
yeah. I mean, it. I've saw like small whispers of it, but I don't think there are any real type of things. And I don't think Arteta would even.
maybe I'm just saying in the future, maybe
In the
even
future, it's hard. It's hard to say, but yeah, I mean, I'm not completely ruling out it's an
maybe
impossibility that he could go
maybe the
anywhere.
Spanish
But
national team, like
maybe,
his
I mean, who
country.
knows?
But we'll have to see. You're gonna have to let us know in the comments down below. Who do you think is gonna win the Premier League title? Do you think it's gonna be Arsenal? Do you think it's gonna be Man City? Let us know. Do you think Pep is the greatest manager of all time? Let us know in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel. Slap a like on the video for more football content. But I think without further ado, we can get out of here because we got Champions League tomorrow.
Yeah, we can get out of here.
So I'm Zach,
I'm G.
and we'll see you next time for another video.